Master this one skill for career success. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash. We are the Focus Group in our 16th year. Quiet. If you
in our 16th year, well, we should have you should have had me put something in the soundboard like
a flourish
and
right,
or
little,
a snare,
a little flourish. And we're coming up upon our first show anniversary, John, which was the end of March, where we recorded. I believe it was Lincoln Center, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was for XM. Yeah.
Yes. And so be sure to follow along and find all of our media housed at focusgroupradio.com. You'll also find our podcast there, which is TFG Unbuttoned, which is 20 minutes in and out. So it's, as John likes to say, more digestible. You can download everything there for free. You'll also see our sponsors, including Deep Discount, which we'll talk about a little later here in the broadcast. Mr. Nash, I'm looking for advice from you. I'm betwixt between. I went to Costco. And I bought a pair of pants. And
I'm surprised at this. You recently said that they're not the same. Like something was different.
Well, I love the Urban Star jeans. They seem to have disappeared unless you go online. And if you go online, they're far more money, which I don't want to spend. So I had gone to Gap to buy. I wanted to update my khakis. So I went to Gap.
Oh, I remember this story. I like the story.
And I bought 3 pairs, and one of them I guess I didn't pay attention to was a slim fit, which I was in slim fit since 5th grade. So I said, well, these aren't going to work, but I'd already put them on and
taken the
didn't want to
off.
return them. And they were close to $40. I'm really kind of pissed about it because unless you have little stick legs, like pipe cleaner legs, I don't know how anybody can wear these. They're so uncomfortable. So I wanted to replace a pair of navy blue pants. So I was going through Costco and I saw that they had a pair of khakis and they were $16.99, marked down from 20 something. So I thought, $16.99, better than $40.
With pipe cleaner legs, yeah.
So I get them, I put them on, they fit great, and then the pocket to me felt like it was bulging a little bit. So I'm tapping the outside of the pant, and on one side, I'm like, I wonder what this is. I thought, oh my God, somebody left money in the pants. I was all excited. So I reach in and I pull out the tags that had been ripped off the pant. Now, these pants were all folded up nicely. They had the little rim around them, it says the size, everything that Costco does. The other side was bulky. So I stick my hand in and pull out some used dirty tissues and a scarf. Blue and white, like a blue and white scarf. And I was like, oh, somebody obviously bought these and wore them to an event, I guess. And then wrapped them up and Costco put them back on the shelf. So I had them on. So I took this, scarfy thing, and I didn't know what to do with it. I'm tempted to bring it all back to Costco. But I wore the pant for, part of the day. Pants looked fine. I looked them all over. They didn't smell. They didn't have any stains on them or rips or anything. But what would you do? Would you take them back?
No. I'd throw the crap away and wash them, call it a day, and not put them through the dryer.
Yeah, I knew you'd have it. I knew you'd have it.
Because you just said you wore them, they were fine, they fit, right?
Yeah. But can you, I guess people do that all the time.
Well, you asked the right person because at Marshall's, brand names for less, where I used to work.
Oh my God, that's
school,
right.
If something came back like this and it went back on the sales floor, we were called in by Ellie Barabas, manager at large. And she would hold up the offensive article and say, what were you doing putting this back on the floor? This has to go back to the stockroom. Someone wore this, especially underwear and lingerie. That was a big part of it.
I can't believe people could return underwear.
Yes. That was always a joy at the service desk. When I didn't last on service desk too long.
No, you were only there about an hour, weren't you?
Maybe a day.
You're not.
And
You're not
Ellie
customer
just-
service.
Ellie says, I think you're better on the register. I'm like, okay. And actually, I wasn't even that good on register. I was good, but I would comment on things, and I ended up back in the men's department. But yeah,
You're probably too talkative. You
I
need
was
to get the
critical.
line
Like,
moving.
well, you know the story, that woman who brings a pair of shoes in.
I love
these
that
things
one.
were ratty ass, falling apart. I mean, they practically had no leather on the soles. And she says, I bought these 5 days ago. I'm like, and my manager's standing right next to me. And I said, ma'am, it looks like you've been around the world in 80 days with these. We can't take these back.
And I think
She
he
goes,
said it looked like the heel got caught in a sewer grate. So it was all ripped
it was
up.
like cracking out. And Ellie says, John, I need to speak with you. And she goes, ma'am, hold on a second. And someone else took care of her. They took the shoes back. And I'm standing like 10 feet away. I said, Miss Barabas, I said, those shoes. Oh, no, the customer's always right. I said, well, she's lying. Oh, I know she's lying.
Well, that's like all these idiots you see after Christmas bringing their live Christmas trees back to Costco.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? How do you have the balls, the big balls, to go take your live Christmas tree on December 30th and drag it with the tinsel hanging off into Costco and say, I want to return my tree?
We were at Costco but probably about 7 days after Christmas. Maybe it was 2 years ago. And Bob and I, when we were walking out, we were looking at the return line. And it's exactly what you said, Tim. We were like, how are you returning this? I mean, it was heaps of clothing, toys that had been taken out of their boxes. And the
Nothing
people behind
packaged.
Nothing packaged. The people behind the counter are just like taking it back.
Like every time I try to take something back, I try to make it almost look like it was when you bought it, right? You try
Brand
to.
new. Yeah.
Right. No, people just bring, and I see that at Home Depot too. People just bring stuff just in a heap and just wheel it in.
It's just so crazy, right? Like, and you and I, having worked in retail, we know we get away with, but we don't do that ourselves. So,
My friend Kate, one time, I was mortified. She had me help her return stuff to Home Depot. She said I couldn't lift it. So I said, okay, I'll help you. So there were 3 bags of concrete that had gotten
like
wet.
powder.
But they'd gotten wet. So they were blocks of concrete. And we dragged these things on a cart, and they're like, deep, 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 deep. I was like, you have more nerve than me. She's like, let's go have lunch. So it's like, all right.
Well, you said this is Jay?
No, my friend Kate. But Jay's is bad.
Okay. Oh, Kate from Philly.
Yeah.
I know Kate. She has the wherewithal to pull that off. She could do a straight face at the counter. There's no doubt about it, right?
Well, she worked in retail, and so did Jay. You know, they both worked in retail, so they know what you can essentially get away with. And I just am mortified. I'm like you. You know, you see something, and although these pants I was tempted to take back, but
Well, how far is Costco?
well, that's the other problem. You know, I'm down here in coastal Delaware. I might as well be in Afghanistan. I mean, there's nothing here. There's a lot here, but there's nothing here.
I know. So you're talking about Christiana?
Yeah, so it would be an hour and a half.
No. With gas and everything, the pants they're
It's not
paid
worth
for.
it.
They're done. If you throw them in the wash, you're good. And just hope that someone had a mild cold.
Yeah. Gross. Okay, well, I'll have to make sure they get washed then, obviously.
Yes. And I would air dry. I don't put anything. I don't put pants through the
You don't
dryer.
do dryers anymore with stuff, with jeans or
Not
anything?
with pants.
Yeah.
I had a pair of pants I bought from a company called Everlane. They fit perfect, and they always just fit, right? And so I washed them once and I air dried them, and then I went to Spain for my bike trip. And over the course of the week, after 450 miles and thousands of feet of climbing, I lost a couple pounds. And when I came back, and I should have remembered this, that you come back leaner from these athletic trips. And the pants felt a little baggy. I thought maybe I'll tighten them up and throw them in the dryer. They never fit the same way again. So I bought a new pair, and the new pair came. They fit perfectly. I thought no more. Air dry is the way to go.
Good. So, Mr. Nash, what happened to catch your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
I came across an article about a actor who served on board a ship that had been booked by nudists, and it was all about nude cruises. I instantly clipped it, and I thought this caught my eye. Then when I went back to it and I began reading, it seems like the article was written in the time of Charles Dickens, where they used to pay you by the letter or the word.
Oh, my God.
Because this guy stretched it out it was word salad forever, and then it was followed by another article, almost the same, but a couple more details had been thrown in. So basically, it's this: answers to common questions about nude cruises. So this guy goes on a 2,000-person nude cruise ship. He is an actor, and he was one of the people that worked on the ship. And he explains what the sex policy was and what clothing optional and everything. So basically, if you go on one of these boats as a naturist, first thing he says is the cruise is very non-sexual, not in public. Like people just wandering around naked, but there's nothing sexual about it, which I think might be different from an Atlantis cruise where you and I have seen videos of some of the gay cruises where things are like this.
They're screwing on the dance floor.
That's why I thought this was going to be like that. So then the people would ask him on the who he knows and says, "Have you gone on this thing? Are they actually naked?" He says, "Yes, people are naked, and they are naked in most situations. As soon as the boat clears a port of call, and it has to be clear of this area. I don't know what the geographic area is, but they get far enough away from land, and there's an announcement, and you can take your clothes off." I just thought I got to be on this boat just as a clothed observer. Yeah, the chocolate fountain is now open, and if you're wearing clothes, take them off, right? Most of the people that work on the boat, because they charter these things for different. So it's the same staffs has the gay cruise, they have the nudist cruise, they have the Weight Watchers cruise, they have a normal family cruise. Same people are running around, and the nude cruise. The one big thing about it is something called towel duty. This is the only thing that really came out of this article that was really two things. Towel duty was the basic. So there's staff hovering. If you sit down anywhere, someone comes and puts a towel down before you sit down. And that's true of the theater. So you could go to watch the entertainment. Like it's Cirque du Soleil tonight. Like Humanity would have a home right there on the nude cruise. Tim and I saw that one a lot.
Too many.
So there's towel duty, and then if you go to the dining room, and you're sitting at the captain's table for lunch or dinner, or the dining room in general, you have to be clothed. But everything else is clothing optional or off entirely. And one last thing, a good naturist etiquette says no photography on the cruise. So this is one of the reasons why we've never seen pictures from someone. This is the etiquette says, do not do this.
There was a woman I used to work with in Oregon who used to go to the nude beach every day or every week. And I never played volleyball. And she had her own set of volleyball, so I often wondered what it was all about. But I don't know. Who wants your stinky ass on a chair or a chaise lounge? Right, you're sweating.
Towel duty. Get over there. Get that towel.
Go through a lot of towels, I guess, right?
Oh, the shit. I read this. Tim, you read my mind. I thought, don't tell me these cruises are ecologically friendly. Or
no, they're dirty.
They're so not carbon neutral because think of all the laundry you're doing every day. Could you imagine the talk in the laundry room? Yeah, I was up on the pool deck and I had to put 15 towels down and
skid marks all over everything.
This is something Tim and I, and actually Bob and I talk about this too. Like I've often said, those who could go naked don't. And those who shouldn't do. And I don't mean to be insulting or anything, but there was one day, Tim, the rice paddy, the path to the from P-Town,
the world's worst gay beach.
One time we're walking through the rice paddy, and this guy approaches us, and he was a handsome young man, really nice build, naked. And as he walks by, we of course were looking up and down. Why not, right? And we smile. And I just said, "You look fantastic." And Bob's like, you can do that. The guy just smiled, and we're like, he's one of the people that you can walk around naked. The nudist cruise. So there you go. Yeah.
I'd be afraid walking around the mosquito bite me. But didn't we? Refresh my memory. You and I were in St. Bart. Did we go? We went to the nude beach. Were we nude?
We were not, but we were there. Yeah, and it was a beach that they were Celine. Was it Celine Beach?
Celine
perhaps?
Beach. I thought we were nude. No,
yeah, I don't. I remember wearing trunks, but I do remember that a lot of the women, since it was French, St. Bart, they had no problem being topless, and that's similar in Europe, by the way. There's no, and I think that's that's fine. It didn't bother me, but.
I still remember the one woman, I think we were in St. Martin when she was coming out. She had the big jugs, and the husband takes a picture of her and goes, "Here's our Christmas card." She's coming out of the water.
I remember that. Like, Merry Christmas.
I thought that was hilarious.
You and I have had some hilarious trips, haven't we?
I don't know why I thought we were nude there, but maybe we weren't. I guess, I don't know. I don't know for some reason why I thought so.
you
You're the only
know-
one I've been there with, so it would have only been you.
It could be that because I remember at one point some people took their suits off because the ocean was really rough and
Yeah.
it was just I don't know.
We'll
That
see.
I only remember that beach because I got caught in the rip current
The riptide, or the undertow.
and you were not far away and I began panicking. You're like, stop, just calm down, and it carried me closer and then I could swim out of it. But you were really good about that.
Yeah, just let it pull you out and swim perpendicular, and you'll eventually get out of
You'll
it.
get
but
out of it, yeah.
You can't panic, but it's natural that you would panic. Everybody does. I came across this article. This has been written many times. Do you know your blood type?
I love that you brought this up, and I do not know it. No.
I don't either. And
Didn't we
they
used to know it years ago, possibly?
I don't think I ever did. And
I checked my license. Doesn't say anything about it. Yeah.
I've asked my doctor about it, and one time years ago when I asked my doctor, I said, "Do you have my blood type on my chart?" He said, "No." He said, "But next time if you go to LabCorp and you get your blood work or whatever, ask them to do it, and they'll tell you what it is or something." So I was reading this, and I think it's important. I expected if I were a betting man, you bet me $1,000, I would have said John Nash knows his blood type, just because that's something I would think you would know.
Yeah, but no, I don't. And
Which
I'll
is
think
one of the
about
reasons.
it.
Which is one of the reasons I pull this. So it says. So the headline is: Many people don't know their blood type. Here's how to find yours out. So they said, in fact, 66 to 67% of Americans reported knowing their blood type. Or no, I'm sorry, only 66% of Americans reported knowing their blood type. So a third don't. I thought it was higher. I would have thought it had been reversed that. But they said about a third of us don't know whether you're AB, negative, positive, so forth. And they said, luckily, there's some easy ways to find out about it. And it's good to know in emergency situations, of course. So they said, before you go out of your way, they said the first thing to do is you should ask your parents, because usually when you're born, they'll tell the mother what the baby's blood type is. I didn't know that either.
Neither did I. No.
And they said, so ask your mother. They said your parent may know. If not, it may be in an old health record. But if you don't have access to that, it says just reach out to your healthcare provider. And next time you get blood drawn, remind them or ask them if they could let you know your blood type. So they said also, if you've had blood drawn in the past year, you could probably call the lab. They may have the information. They said you can also purchase a home blood test online, which is shipped to your house. It comes with a little needle and a testing card, and you put a drop of blood on it, and it'll give you results in a minute or two. It also said when you donate blood, so if you went to the Red Cross or something, you donate blood, your blood will go through multiple tests. So after you've donated to the Red Cross, you'll be given a blood donor card, which you can also go to the website and research and find your blood type from that, because after you do give blood, they will test your blood, of course. So they said it may take a few days, but if you've gone and given blood at the Red Cross, you can go online and look for it. If you're squeamish about needles, you could also do a saliva test at home. They said it's about 80% accurate. But the best thing to do is if you're giving blood or getting blood work done is to ask. So I got to remember to do that. I have no idea what my blood type is.
Neither do I. I'm not even going to hazard a guess. And I could look. I think my mom gave me a bunch of like my old birth certificate, and it was one of the original ones that was written up in the hospital.
Right.
I'll have to look at that to see if there's any supporting stuff. But you bring up the blood donation at the Red Cross. Am I mistaken, or have they now completely changed the protocol and gay men can now donate blood?
Yes, you can now donate because they said here, it says when you donate blood to the Red Cross, your blood will go through multiple tests, which include blood type. And so they do tests. So any blood that they get, they say that they test now, and that you can have access. I guess they give you a card, and I haven't donated in the Red Cross forever. I've gone to LabCorp to get blood work done, but I have not donated blood. But they said they'll give you a blood donor card to go online and check. And when you check at the website, it will give you your blood type.
I think this is really fascinating. And next time I see my doctor, or I might even just text him to have him because he could look it up. I'm curious. I'd like to know. And it's one of those things that, as you said, in an emergency, AKA you're in the hospital and you need a blood donation. And the donating thing to the Red Cross, I was surprised when I saw it pop up that they've now, because they had this ridiculous rule that you had
They're
to
concerned
be,
about HIV, right, and AIDS.
yeah, if you were gay and you were going to donate, you had to be monogamous, and you had to. How would you even prove that? I mean, it's just like, I just thought it's another impediment, and
Yeah.
I've ignored this for most of my adult life, even though I would not mind donating blood at all. But then we listened to an NPR. Here and Now, I think it was, or with Megan Chakravarti. She had this fascinating thing about people who make money donating blood and blood plasma.
Oh, yeah. That's big.
The plasma thing, there was this guy they interviewed who goes and gives blood plasma every week, and he's done it for like years. And he showed her on in the studio the scarring in his arm where the vein, like where they would go to find a vein to get the plasma. And he was making like $400 or $500 a month, and then they take that plasma, and the company that uses it makes thousands and millions of dollars on blood plasma products. It's a whole, and so we're in the car, and then Bob said to me, he goes, "Hey, can we donate blood?" I said, "I think we can." So,
yeah. So it'd be good to know, I guess. Or just be. I'm surprised because I'm shocked today because I would have bet $1 million. You knew your blood type. Does Bob know his?
I don't think so. I'll ask him. I don't think so, though.
Okay. Hey, so many of you know that Deep Discount's a partner here of ours on the Focus Group, and they've been with us for quite some time. You can find out more about them once you go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo. Right now, they've got a site-wide sale going on, as they've had all month. And you can find all kinds of great media and, of course, movies, TV, CDs, video games, vinyl, all kinds of other things there during their site-wide sale. And if you look at the landing page when you go, there's a Shark Madness sale, John. Remember Sharky the Shark?
Sharky! Yeah.
So
we got a comment once from someone who was like, "We love Sharky, but you're overdoing Sharky." So I backed way off Sharky.
you can't pay attention to that. That was one comment. One comment
No,
of millions.
It wasn't just one. There was a couple.
Oh, it wasn't? People didn't like Sharky?
They liked him, but they thought that Sharky was playing too prominent a role, perhaps.
Oh,
So,
okay.
as Tim mentioned, I have up here, if you're watching on YouTube, the landing page for Deep Discount. And you can get there again by going to focusgroupradio.com and clicking on the Deep Discount logo. And right on the landing page, this is why I love Deep Discount, is one of my favorite movies of all time, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, starring Tina Turner. And it's on sale for $7.84. So I think that is, yeah.
That
Or
wig she
$7.34.
wore on that was something, remember?
And that chainmail costume. Greg and I, my old roommate Greg and I went to the time.
Another hero.
You're making her sound like Cher now.
Oh, yeah.
My old roommate from college, my best friend from college and my old business partner, Greg, we went to see Mad Max about 8 times.
Are
in
you
Times
kidding me?
Square. This is, yes, we adored
my
it. I mean,
goodness.
this is what you did back then. You went to the movies. All right, so for the site-wide sale, which, as I said, they have great prices on everything. This is back in stock now, and it was not for a while. A couple weeks ago, I recommended a movie that Criterion Collection put out called For All Mankind, which is an assemblage of footage of an Apollo mission from launch to return. So they took all this footage from the different Apollo missions and put it together. Not to be confused with Apple TV's For All Mankind, which is an amazing series. I think people should watch it. This movie is called Apollo 11. And it came out in 2019, late 2019. It was right before the pandemic. I saw it in IMAX, actually. And this is just footage from the Apollo 11 mission, but it's footage that NASA never released, or they had it and they didn't use it. 70 millimeter. It looks like it was shot yesterday. In fact, it's so crystal clear that you almost wonder if it's fake, but it's not. It's real.
Wow.
It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. It has some voiceover by Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins, who was orbiting the moon while the guys were down below, and other astronauts. And it's all the audio is just mission control, sound effects, and some of the astronauts talking about the experience. So it's a little bit like For All Mankind, but different because it's just one mission. So I picked Apollo 11 on Blu-ray, back in stock at deep discount for $14.90.
The thing I found most shocking to me about any of these people that had gone and walked on the moon or gone to the moon was what they said the smell was like. Did you ever read any about that, about what it smelled like? And a few of them all said it smelled kind of like an electrical fire.
Okay.
And I just thought that would be a kind of discomforting smell anyway. That stuck in my head.
Electrical, yeah.
Electrical wire. I had picked, there's been an awful lot on social media, maybe it's just my feed or the algorithm, but an awful lot about Grey Gardens and the Beals of Grey Gardens. Too many people watch the HBO special, or that they remake of Grey Gardens, which is not the real thing. You've got to get the documentary from the Maisels. And there was actually a prequel to Grey Gardens, and then the Beals of Grey Gardens, which was done, features the Beals, but it also has Jackie O and Lee Radzikill and Peter Beard, who was a photographer, a good friend. He dated Lee, which is Jackie O's sister, and he was involved with working with the Maisels to try to get a movie done about Lee Radzikill. And that's when they fell in love and discovered the Beals, Big Edie and Little Edie. But Andy Warhol's in this, number of Truman Capote, a number of other famous people from back in that day that you would know. And have you watched that summer?
We love that summer. In fact, you told us about it when it came out, and we rented it. I think we rented it off one of the platforms, and then eventually got it. It's, as Tim said, it's the inspiration for because
right.
they were doing test footage for Lee, right? Lee Radzikill.
Yeah. They were doing test footage for her because she wanted a story about her life. She thought her life was so fabulous, and they stumbled on these two and thought, no, this is the movie. So, so the original year was 2017. You can't stream it. It's not streaming. You're not going to find it anywhere like that. So you've got to get it through our friends at Deep Discount. And I laughed because Peter Beard, who was one of the friends, who just recently died, by the way, I didn't realize I was reading. He married Cheryl Tiegs, the model, for 2 years after he had dated and hung around Kennedy and Lee, and also romanced Candice Bergen. But it's a great movie, or a great documentary if you're a fan of Grey Gardens and you want to know where the inspiration came from and some of the other characters. They also show a lot more of the house.
Oh, yes.
Which, usually, they show a lot more of the house. I'll leave it at that. So if you're a fan of the Beals, you got to add that summer to your collection.
This is a Tim and John recommended movie, right?
Yeah, that summer.
That summer. We do have a new release this week, and it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So this is Jason Momoa as Aquaman. And I'll read you the description here. As Arthur Curry confronts the responsibilities of being King of the Seven Seas. Not a bad title. I think that was Charlie the Tuna, right?
Yeah.
A long-buried ancient power is unleashed. After witnessing the full effects of these dark forces, Aquaman, who is, of course, Arthur Curry, must forge an uneasy alliance with an old enemy and embark on a treacherous journey to protect his family, his kingdom, and the world from irreversible devastation. I would say if you're a fan of the Marvel Universe, I think this is from Marvel Land, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, because the first one was very popular. So there we go, new release. So recapping for you folks, we have a site-wide Shark Madness sale. If anything, if you're just in the mood for Tina Turner and Mel Gibson and an 80s with a soundtrack that featured a lot of saxophone, right,
yes.
Tim?
That's the 80s.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is right on the homepage. But I picked a movie called Apollo 11, compilation of amazing footage that NASA captured of the mission at various stages in 70 millimeter and high-res 35 that put together a documentary on this. Tim picked That Summer, which is featuring it's a prequel to basically Grey Gardens, the Beals of Grey Gardens, and the entire Edie Bouvier, the whole bit. And the release this week is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So again, thanks to Deep Discount for being a partner of ours here on the Focus Group. You can get to them by going to our site, focusgroupradio.com, clicking on the Deep Discount logo, which we would appreciate a great deal, and start your shopping experience.
John, all four of those movies are outworldly, aren't they? They're all out of this world.
Dystopic, superhero, crazy, out in the Hamptons, right? And a mission to the moon. Yeah,
they had a theme. They had a theme to them.
We're taking a quick break. When we return, we have our business birthday, and we have a shop talk for you, so stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to the focus group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here with John T. Nash. We are the Focus Group here every Wednesday or Saturday in just an audio format, which 99% of you listen to. 99.9%.
99.999. Yeah.
999 to our 999 to our audio feed. And so we appreciate that. Learn all about us at focusgroupradio.com. Without further ado, Mr. Nash, we have our business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Happy 50th to Matt Nuccio, or Matthew Nuccio, but he goes by Matt, born March 20th, 1974. He's 50 years old today. He was born in Merrick, New York, and he's credited as
Merrick? Like Merrick, Long Island, right?
Yeah, Merrick, Long
Okay.
Island, which he's a toy designer, co-credited with designing Creepy Crawlers, Tickle Me Elmo, Nintendo Power Glove, Barbie Sparkle Kingdom, amongst an can't even read all these. The Pogues Laser Challenge, but he's the son of toy designers, and they have a family, or the family business was called Design Edge. Now, I was wondering about Creepy Crawlers because we grew up with Creepy Crawlers. Remember, it's that metal.
Tim, I am so glad you just said that, because when you sent this over and I was looking at the pictures you accompanied your business birthday with, I was looking at the molds, the picture you
Right.
sent over. Tim is not kidding. Creepy Crawlers is one of the most dangerous toys on the market. I mean,
Yeah.
that thing heated up, you'd pour the goop in, close it, and come back a little while later, and you had those little rubber things, right?
Yeah, nobody got burnt.
No.
The,
not that we
but-
heard of.
Not that you knew of, and if you did, you were stupid. Well, you shouldn't have touched it. It's hot. It's metal. It had a little metal thing which even heated up. But what I was suspect of is because he's only 50. So I thought,
He was
how was
born
he
in
involved?
74. We were playing with this stuff in the late 60s.
Stuff in the
right?
60s. So I thought, how was he involved in Creepy Crawlers? But what their company does, the Design Edge, is they redesign or upgrade or update or refurbish to new materials or whatever. So with the Creepy Crawlers, for instance, the molds now may be done in plastic instead of metal. So that's where the design came in, because I thought he's too young to be doing Creepy Crawlers. But the other stuff he certainly was involved in. He said he grew up in the toy business. His first paying gig was he was a model on the HG Toys Dukes of Hazzard playset. At the time,
Do you remember the Dukes of
Dukes
Hazzard?
of Hazzard. Yeah, at the time, his father was VP of Design and Marketing at HG Toys. And so he said he spent every Saturday hanging out and tinkering in the model shop with his dad. So by 14, his folks had started this company called Design Edge out of the family garage, and left and went out on their own. And they opened up an office on Madison Avenue. They grew a studio there and worked with a wide array of toys and game manufacturers, and also designed games and products for Barbie. They designed the play ovens, packaging, molds for Creepy Crawlers, new packaging for Matchboxes, the Matchbox cars. Also, they did the concept renderings for Tickle Me Elmo. So they were heavily involved in a lot of the design of these products. They opened an office in Hong Kong in 2004. They said by 2009, the company had grown to being a specialized product design firm with complete design and consulting and production resources for companies such as Mattel, Spin Master, Hasbro, and Goliath. They, as of 2017, they had worked on over 100 juvenile product companies. They currently have a 5,000 square foot facility in what's known as the Gold Coast in Long Island. Now, apparently, they said there's an area of eastern Long Island, or I'm sorry, an area of Long Island that's known as the Gold Coast for Hollywood studio lots. Is that where they're doing Gilded Age and everything?
Yes. You're 100% right. Yeah.
So that's where they're located over there as well. It's called the East Coast Film. They have an East Coast filming facility there, and they do all kinds of work there. And so he's won all kinds of awards. He said that the most important thing that he he does. They said when they asked him about how he designs or how he gets ideas, he says he listens to a lot of music. And he said, and that helps him with his creativity. And they asked him then in an interview, they said, what do you look for in a new product or a toy? And he said, first and foremost, we have to discern what's fun about it. And then if we find out what's fun about it, then we have to decide whether it's marketable and can we make it for a reasonable price. So product, price, place, promotion, right, John? The 4 Ps of marketing.
Tim, the 4 Ps can never be replaced or superseded. I don't care how many times they come up with a new phrase, right? You just named it perfectly. Yeah.
The one thing he does do is he goes to the NSA, which is the Uber CIA. He does give private lectures at the NSA headquarters in the DC area on the topic of innovation. He often does that, about the importance of innovation and creativity. And so he says that if you're interested in the toy, getting in the toy business, he jokingly said, don't. But he did say that you can't. He said it's similar to what you've always said, John, about being a creative director or having creative ideas. You can't get married to just one thing, he said, because 99% of what you do won't be used.
Yeah.
It'll be either thrown away or redesigned or something. But you have to then just keep innovating, because otherwise you'll go crazy. If you get married to one thing, you'll never get beyond. So happy birthday to Matt Nuccio.
On that point, I remember what really drove it home for me was when I was taking my animation classes. My fourth mentor was Jean-Denis Haas. He was he worked at Industrial Light and Magic. He worked on many of the Star Wars movies. His specialty was animating the Millennium Falcon, Han Solo ship in 3D. But one day he said to us as a class, he goes, you're all just obsessed with your own work. He goes, nothing you do is precious. If you can't rip apart what you just did and put it back together differently, he goes, you're not going to be happy in this game. Nothing is precious. And I just jotted that note down. I'm like, and now you and I think we learned that the hard way, because I think, we've staked out positions on things in our careers in the past, sometimes for good reason. Other times, now you're like, fine, change it.
Well, I'm sure there's creative that you've done that you still are scratch your head as to why the client didn't pick it or why it never got produced. And I remember many times, I shouldn't say many, but there's probably 5 to 8 commercials that I remember in my times at Subaru that were presented to me that to this day I still think would have been hilarious and I think should have been done, and they just never. People did not see the same humor, I guess, or the same the same aspects of it that I did, but I thought they were quite good. So I don't know. The creative game, right, Mr. Nash?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, our shop talk today is a pretty simple one, but important.
Quick one.
Important nonetheless. The headline is, Warren Buffett says this is the single greatest skill to boost your career and improve your worth. This came from Inc.com. And Warren Buffett, of course, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, everybody knows him. He was interviewed recently, and somebody asked him what they thought the most important, it's a question from the audience, what they thought the most important skill was for somebody starting out in their career. And do you want to reveal what that was? That Mr.
Yeah, it was at Columbia.
He's
He's an alumni of Columbia University, and one of the MBA students was like, okay, now that I'm getting my MBA, what am I missing from this MBA? And Warren Buffett was like, you need to be a good public speaker. And he didn't necessarily mean that you had to be able to get up at a lectern in front of 1,000 people and give a speech. You just needed to be able to enunciate your ideas. You had to be a good storyteller, and you had to have a good you had to be a good speaker. So if you're in a room of 6 people and you're presenting a PowerPoint deck and an idea, the better you frame it, and he said that Steve Jobs was a perfect example of a wonderful public speaker, because he brought a couple of things to the table. He brought passion for what he was doing, and he brought an uncanny ability, and I used to always admire this about Steve Jobs, to simplify a concept down to something that he could just impart to you in a couple of words or a sentence or two. And that's a skill set that, and look at all of us in our daily lives. Like if we were working with any corporate client, it's just, sometimes you look at these PowerPoints with 1,000 words and you're like, what are you saying? So that was his advice, is improve your ability to speak in front of others. He called it public speaking, but I would say that.
Yeah, and you said if you've seen someone that you've admired or you liked in terms of the way they presented, they said you can enhance your own speaking style by identifying the traits that you pulled out from listening to that person and then incorporating them for yourself. There are times I can tell you that, you could practice this, and people do practice, and you think you're set, and sometimes you get thrown off course, or maybe you've read the room wrong. There's probably more than a handful of times I had finished something and I thought I probably should have done better, even though I was prepared. There's times I remember saying, God, I screwed that up, or, and I'd be mad at myself for doing that, because generally I would say, okay, I can get up, you put your thoughts together, you present them. But there's a couple of times I still beat myself up over maybe I didn't present the best way. I don't know. Have you ever done that where you felt, man,
Oh,
I
yeah,
should have
yeah.
done it?
Oh, you better believe it. Yeah. And then there are times where I've been pleased with what I've done. I would say you're being a little harsh on yourself. I have an example of Tim pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Subaru sponsored the Provincetown International Gay
Oh, my
Film
God,
Festival
remember
one
that?
year. And it corresponded to a bike ride, like a biking event that I did. It was Boston to Provincetown in one day, and I did the ride. I arrived in P-Town. Tim's there, and we go to the event, and a woman says, well, we're going to have you speak in about 10 minutes. And no one had told us that Tim had to speak. And Bob and I are like, oh, my God. And Tim's like, all right. And so Tim got quiet, like not quiet, but just thoughtful for a few minutes. Gets up on stage. Was Marcia Gay Harden in the audience?
Yes.
Okay.
And she had just won the Oscar.
Tim gets up and gives this intro about the festival and its importance and why Subaru was sponsoring. And you referenced Marcia Gay Harden or something. It was the most brilliant, off the cuff, well done speaking thing. Everybody loved it. And it was made up on the fly, right?
Well, because you were there for your biking event, Bob, and it was horrible weather. Remember, it was crappy
raining,
weather.
yeah.
There's the film festival, and you had said Subaru sponsoring this, and as you said, never said that we were introducing Marcia Gay Harden. I thought, who the hell is she? I couldn't pick her out of a lineup. So I do remember, though, there was an Oscar poll they did at work, and people, you pick who's going to win what awards, and she was a long shot, and she ended up winning the Academy Award, and I had picked her, and I won the pool. So I thought, well, I'm going to say, I'm so delighted to meet you because, you were my pick of the only person at Subaru I picked for you to win the Academy Award, and here you are, and I get to meet you, and, I won the pot of money, which she thought was hilarious. And then we gave her the socks, remember? We gave her focus group socks, and she had her little, I think it was her daughter or her son.
And she was so happy.
She was doing puppets with the socks with them.
Yep.
So, I do remember that one. That one I did pull it out of the hat. For every one of those you pull it out of the hat, though, there's one where I've laid a big turd. There was a time in San Francisco I had to introduce a women's film. It was all lesbians. And they were screaming at me like lunatics because I had said gay women instead of lesbians. And finally, our friend Pam had to grab the mic and reprimand the crowd because it was getting out of control. I was like, man, I'd mess this up. But anyway, yeah, it happens.
When we used to sponsor the AIDS life cycle for Subaru out in LA, I had to speak numerous occasions because I did that ride one year for the 7-day ride. I did the Princess Tour. I did not do the camping and the shower trucks. I would have a hotel every night. And by the way, that made a huge difference.
A huge difference.
I'd show up fresh as a daisy after sleeping in a bed, do a nice 100-mile day or 80-mile day, whatever it was. But yeah, I've done good speeches and bad. And one time Tim had a back injury and he was going to be accepting an award for a visionary award from the Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Center. And Tim said, you have to go out in my place because all the executives are over in Japan or they're at this big meeting and no one's available.
Or afraid.
That you did say that. And so you said, I think it's important that you do it. I wrote my speech, gave it to the it was a big crowd. I mean, it was the teleprompter type crowd, right?
Yeah.
And I remember Greg was with me and sitting at the table right in front of the teleprompter. And Greg said to me, when you get on stage, do not improvise and don't go off the teleprompter. And Pam Grier was the woman. Pam Grier was the setup for me. She went out on stage and gave a speech without any notes or anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's. And
I was like nervous. And she said, honey, Foxy Brown is going to set you up. She walks out. She has a great little intro. She's holding the award, which is a glass triangle with a really sharp point at the top. And she was a little shorter than me. And I come out and she hands me the award, and I bend down to kiss her on the cheek. And I said, "Oh my God, this thing could take an eye out." And the microphone was right there. And everybody starts laughing. And she's like, "See, you're going to do fine." And I did go off the teleprompter. I got back on it. Everybody laughed, but it was a good speech. But it was a really good experience that Tim had forced me to do that, because that's speaking at a different level than Warren Buffett's. Well, he's talking about that plus smaller groups and stuff. But
yeah, whether it's 3 people or 3,000, right? It's it's a big thing. Pam Grier's been good over there. She's been on our show a couple of times when she was doing Dining Out for Life, and
that's right. She is a wonderful woman.
She'd come visit with us. She and Felipe, the Indian from
Village People,
and who may be the new vice presidential candidate apparently for RFK, Jesse Ventura. Remember, he loved us. He loved us. We had him on 4 or 5 times.
Jesse was an.
You're the only boys who let me on. CNN won't let me on anymore. The country's gone crazy.
They think I'm crazy, but he was actually a delightful guest, right?
Wonderful. Yeah.
He had his opinions. He had that. The last time Tim and I interviewed him was a book about JFK's assassination, and he had, let's say, a radical idea of what was going on there. But still, he was a wonderful interview and super polite, big guy. Yeah, he was fun.
No, he was. I laughed. I was telling Richard about it. He's like, "Really?" I said, "Oh, he's been. Yeah. He was on frequently because no one else would have him on."
Well, we were the go-to show for the book PR person. Laura was her name. I forget.
Well, she knew we would do it right. You know that and Jennifer Granholm. That was a great interview.
Governor Granholm was fantastic. Yeah, and that was one of Tim's favorites. She and her husband were in the studio, and I remember.
And when she told us when they left, and she told us, she said, "I've been interviewing all day," because she had launched that book. She said, "You're the best interview I had," and she'd been at MSNBC all day, and I thought that was one of our prouder moments. She said, "You actually read my book,"
and she made sure
and you read my book.
Yeah, and she made sure to say repeatedly, "I am not blowing smoke.
Yeah.
You guys were my favorite interview." There you go, folks. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us here on the Focus Group. Again, I want to thank Deep Discount for being a partner of ours here on the show. They have a site-wide sale going on right now. I picked the movie Apollo 11 documentary. 70-millimeter footage was used to put that together, stuff that's never been seen. Tim picked a wonderful movie called That Summer, which is a prequel to the entire Grey Gardens and the Beale saga. And the release this week is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on 4K Ultra HD. We want to remind people to don't text and drive, arrive alive. I saw a car literally go onto the rumble strip yesterday and then swerve back on. And Bob's like, "What do you think's going on?" I'm like, "Take a wild guess."
What do you think?
Be safe out there, folks, and we'll see you in the new week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.